This video is going to be a taste testing of one of these bottles of wine. They've all reached the 12-month stage with the exception of this one, which has now reached the 14-month stage. And if you've seen my videos, you've already seen part one, which is the initial making of the video. And then in the playlist, there are, of course, the subsequent operations, the subsequent rackings, the bottlings, the degassings, the back sweetening, pasteurization, and all of that. Well, it's now time to do taste testings, and we're going to start with this video with this. This is a bottle of the mixed berry wine that I made back on the 10th of 2020. This is now 12 of 2021, so this is the one that's gone 14 months. I've actually had this bottle earlier, around the 10-month mark, and I thought it was just okay, but several months later, let's see if it's improved with age. So, hi, I'm Charles and welcome to DIY Fermentation, your site for doing fermentation on a shoestring budget. Of course, if you like what you see here, please click on the subscribe and notify buttons so that you can see more of this content. Now then. Now this mixed berry wine was a combination of strawberries, blackberries, and raspberries. Okay, interesting combination. As I said earlier, at the 10-month mark, 9-10-month mark, it tasted okay, but again, let's get right to it. Let's see if it has improved with age. Okay. I got the whole cork this time. Great. Let's see. Before pouring the glass, what can I say about this bottle of wine? Well, even just looking at it from the bottle, it still has a haze. Okay, to be expected. Again, born date 10/2020. Alcohol by volume was 15.2%. Okay, so it's got a little bit of a kick to it, but again, I'm still in the process of toning down my wines to bring it closer to that 13% range. Don't really see any sediment on the bottom, so it's as clear as it's going to get. I think that should do it for the time being. All right. Just by swirling it in glass, a couple of things. The berry flavor or the berry smell comes through. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. It doesn't appear to be a thin wine, which means that it's got a little bit of body to it. That might have been as a result of the back sweetening. This was one of the last few batches of wine that I did not pasteurize, which is what I normally do with my wines after back sweetening them now. Which means that I was either using the stepped back sweetening method, in other words, adding more sugar until the yeast can't absorb any more, and then adding some more sugar and taking hydrometer readings to see if it's changed. And if it hadn't changed, then I can add as much sugar as I want without having to worry about restarting fermentation. So, yeah, that's probably what happened in this case, which is why this wine has got a little bit of viscosity to it. It's not thick or syrupy, but it's got a little body to it. I like the fact that you smell the berries, but you don't smell the alcohol. At least not at first. It's there on the back end during that last little whiff, but it's there. I mean, 15.2%. I mean, okay. It's got a little kick to it. We're going to get right to this one. One of the first things that I note is the amount of astringency on the back end. Normally that's one of the last things you notice, but in this wine, that was one of the first things that I noticed. The amount of tannin used was probably If I make this wine again, I would probably tone down the amount of tannin that was used. And of course, in all of my wines, I use the black tea method to provide tannin. Basically, you're making a small cup, half cup of strong black tea, and then you're adding that in as your tannin substitute. I could have either used tannin powder, which this channel does not use. I could have used oak chips, which this channel does use, to provide the necessary tannin. But the black tea probably could have cut that down in half. I think when I go back and look at the original ingredients in the original recipe, I'll probably make a modification in the amount of, let's just say, black tea that I used. And you'll see it in the ingredients list. It'll say modified and the date that I modified it, so you know that I made a change. Other things that I've noticed. I think the acidity is just about right. It's just about right. I'll probably make a change there as well to reduce it. When I first started making my wines, I was using a whole lemon, not really knowing how acidity affects wine. That's what I did. Then when I started tasting my wines originally, I began noticing, hey, it's kind of like, it's got a lot of citrus flavor. In other words, it's got that acidity that needed to be toned down. So I went down to half a lemon. The last couple of batches over the past few months, I've reduced that down to a quarter of a lemon in terms of juice, which seems to be more of a sweet spot for adding for the acidity. So again, I'll probably will make another change in the original recipe, reduce the amount of acidity by half, from a half a lemon to a quarter of a lemon. That will be an improvement on this as well. Another thing is that the berry flavor, again, is very pronounced. It's very prominent. It's not like some of the wines, especially the whites that I've made, where the flavor can be subtle at best. No, this one, slight, a few slight changes, and this will actually be a halfway decent bottle of wine. I don't think I used pectin enzyme because I was trying to get away from that. But if you're the sort of winemaker that still uses pectin enzyme, and from time to time you will see me still use pectin enzyme. Recently I just used it for that cranberry sauce wine and that applesauce wine because I didn't want to take too much of a chance there. But normally I try and get away from pectin enzyme. But this is one of those wines where it probably could have helped a little bit in terms of overall clarity. Again, this channel doesn't use bentonite, sparkle oil, or any other let's just say aids in clarifying your wine, filters, or anything like that. But in terms of flavor, apart from the acidity, which is not bad, I mean, it's drinkable. Tone down the acidity, tone down the amount of tannin. The bold flavors are there. Probably could have used a little bit less fruit, but the fruit that I used, I mean, it does have very pronounced flavors. I'd have to say if one of the berries has a more pronounced flavor than the rest, it would probably be the raspberries. Which when I made that raspberry wine, that's when I realized that raspberries can pack a punch in terms of flavor. So yeah, that's pretty much my assessment about this this particular bottle of wine, which I will be finishing later on tonight. Is that, yeah, I like it. Few changes. This is a wine that once I make the improvements, I'll probably end up making this again. Yeah, I probably will make this one again, just to verify that my changes worked out okay. And just like most home winemakers, this is basically, you try like any other recipe, really. You try it, you do it by the recipe, you make it, you see what changes need to be made, you make the changes. If they work out, then there we go. It's a learning experience. So again, this is a very short video. Again, if you do like this channel, please click on the subscribe button. I generally do the tastings at the 12-month mark. Some of my earlier videos I was doing at the 6-month mark, but at 6 months the wines really weren't done. This wine is basically done. I think I've got 2 more bottles of this left, and I'll probably just let those age a little bit longer to see if there's any change in the flavor profile. But no, small changes. This is a not bad bottle of wine, and this was made with what? Frozen fruit, so it works. That being said, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.